Welcome back, beautiful souls, to the Soul Collective podcast. I'm your host, Emily Ghosh Harris, and today it is my honor to welcome Eva Marquez to the podcast. Eva is a spiritual consultant, she's a writer, a healer, and the author of 6 books. And, from a personal perspective, I came across Eva's work, and her books really helped me to understand from a galactic perspective and a starseed perspective the vastness of our soul lineage and our journey through the cosmos, but really in a practical and embodied way so that we're able to really integrate that wisdom into our everyday lives. And so that is what I am so excited to explore in this conversation today. And Eva, it's such an honor to welcome you to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Emily, for inviting me. And thank you for reading my books and getting that part that is practical, because that's what it should be. Very practical, all the knowledge that we are learning.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so exciting. I feel there's so much that we are maybe remembering as a collective at this time. There's so much knowledge and soul memories that we have access to, which can be very exciting. And also, I feel there is this question of really how we take that knowledge and wisdom and integrate it into our everyday lives. And so, I'd love to start just by asking you how you began to activate this own remembrance in yourself.
Well, the journey started literally when I was born, as I would say for all of us starseeds. When we feel these things and the things are happening to us, and some people understand, I did not understand. And once I grew older in my later 20s, I started to be curious. What is it I'm feeling? What is it I'm actually afraid of? Because I used to be very afraid of these energies. I always share I don't have this beautiful, eloquent story that I knew and everything was magical. Oh no, everything was dreadful and bad and dark. And I tried to outrun it as much as I could. But it was with the birth of my first child when I says, do I want her to live like me, or do I want to figure it out and teach her and teach my children eventually that we don't have to be afraid of those things that we don't understand, and we can understand them. And it is that word understanding that we start embodying it, because we can already embody something that we don't know what it is. Lately, I'm playing with these ideas. Well, they are actually very real things, that there are these energies that we don't understand. We invited them inside. And there's a lot of earthbound spirits and all those around that we, again, don't understand. And we become affected by them, same by the traumas that happen to us. So that what understanding in the simplicity, it's the beginning of the embodiment of these energies and really of who we are.
And I understand during sort of the midst of that discovery for you, you were navigating Lyme disease and, a lot of things just happening in your life at that time. Can you kind of take us back in the moment and share, what was going on in your life at the time?
Well, at that time, probably about a year or 2 years before the Lyme disease, I really discovered that I'm this Pleiadian, which I didn't know what does it mean. I remember I Google it and like, what is this word Pleiadian that I heard the voice tell me? And the beautiful constellation pop up, and I started to crying, having that emotional remembering, which I still needed to understand. And my guides used to tell me, well, you are a healer. And I was like, no, 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 I can just like communicate to the spirits and energies. This is so exciting. Well, my life was actually going through a stage of the dysfunctional marriage and lots of unhappiness that I was trying to believe that I can save it, but I couldn't. And so I became ill with a Lyme disease. And I had a very fast and very, I would say, violent kind of the symptoms when I felt like paralyzed and I was in the high fevers, lots of pain. Um, and I left my body at that moment. I was still in my bed, and I truly believe that I died in the bed. Later on, researching what near-death experiences, and that's what happened to me. And I enter what I believe is the crystal cities or the Shambhala inside of the earth. I'm very convinced I didn't go to the heaven or to the other side, but I went into the inner city. And everything was made out of crystals. And there were these beings that I don't remember I seen them, but I seen the crystal city, but I heard them talking to me. And they talk in the poetry. The language was poetic and everything was in the music. And it was so beautiful that I didn't want it to leave back. And they says, look, you have a Lyme disease. You need to seek the immediate medical help. And you need to really embark on this healing journey. And I says, well, cannot I just stay here? Because my life, even though I was young, I was 33, it wasn't happy. I could feel that woman lying in the bed who has her two children, but is absolutely unfulfilled and unhappy on her journey. And so at that moment, they said, all right, I'll give you a choice. But I held a picture of my children who were 4 and 6 at that time. And I was like, oh, can't stay here. It feels really good, but I need to go again back for them. And I need to make something out of our life. And that is when I returned back to the body and I had a search of the healing to seek the help I needed. And to all of out there who struggle with the Lyme disease, I did take 3 months of the antibiotics that the doctor prescribed to me. So I didn't do that completely without the medicine. But I didn't follow any strict diet or regimens or herbal supplements because I didn't know about them. But the one thing what I did, I religiously started to practice energy healing, trace my meridians, work with my acupressure points. I found this treasure of the book of the Donna Eden, her energy medicine. That saved my life and that put me on a journey to be a healer because I thought, if I can heal myself, I can help the others. The one thing what I had was a true belief that I will heal. I never put it up there, oh, this is something you cannot heal from. I would drag myself through the day. I would look at my kids and I says, yes, I can. Now, as with every healing, and I think this go with our starseed journeys, there's the healing that's happening inside of the body and needs to start reflecting in our outside reality. So I knew when I returned back, I knew I had to find a way to leave that marriage, to create something different out of my life, to offer my children a different opportunity in life than we had before. And it wasn't an easy journey, but looking it back, it was the best thing I could have ever done. And even though it broke me down physically, financially, emotionally, we started over. And it took me a year to heal, like to really be in the energy when I can actually feel the energy. So it is not a overnight journey healing with these Pleiadians or the inner earth. It is learning and transforming and finding ourselves. Really finding ourselves that the cosmos is within us. Everything that is inside of us would reflect our reality. And again, it took me many years to fully understand it. But after that, that's when I opened this kind of the work and I says, all right, I am a healer who wants to be helped. And the journey started there.
Mm. Such a beautiful journey. And, what it really brings up to me in your sharing, there's a gate in human design that's gate 60, and it's called the gate of crisis. And, oftentimes we think of crisis in sort of a negative connotation, but really I feel it is our perspective that we bring to the situation, bring to the experience, the intention of, I'm going to heal myself. I mean, who knows if all of those gifts would have been activated in, the way they were divinely orchestrated through that experience and through your intention. So,
Absolutely. And if I can add to this, I always like to explore this as all of us, like, why did it happen? When are the answers, right? So there's the gate in the human design. And I call it that when we come here in our soul contract, we overload our plate of the suffering. We create this crisis actually intentionally. Because in the earth realm that is serves to duality, the good and the bad, we evolve only through the suffering until we figured it out. So we wanted to speed up our evolutionary light code, if we want to find a fancy name for it. And that's that gateway. The gateway is, look, if you're going to suffer and you're going to evolve through it, you will activate the dormant DNA within you, which means the dormant memory inside of us. That's what the DNA is. It is just the memory that, we look in the fancy kind of the DNA. So it speed up the evolution. If we look in the animals on the earth, every animal species evolved through the suffering and takes a several generations for them to evolve, to come from the water to the land because there's not enough food. Now we knew that we have an only particular lifespan. And I think this is a story of majority of the starseed. Everybody I talk to tell me like, I already live like 3 or 5 lives. Yes, because we needed this evolutionary suffering, let's call it. But
Mm.
once we realize it, we can stop it. It's almost like you are in this crazy fun park and you says, I don't want to drive the roller coasters again because they give me stomachache every single time. So
Yes.
then we get out and we can stop it and we can sort of kind of look at it like, what is behind that gate? And I can be ahead of it and by be proactive and taking the actions in the right way,
Yes.
navigate through it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's such an important aha realization when we begin to create from a new place, without the need for suffering. And I want to explore that a little bit, because I feel like some of the programs, and we know that programs, in this reality are often imprinted in us at such an early age, 0 to 7 years old. And, we have the opportunity to really remove those programs, but some of them that are perhaps still present in this current reality, things like self-sacrifice, like self-sabotage, unworthiness, self-doubt, scarcity. These are some of maybe those programs of resistance. And I'm wondering if you can share, sort of from a galactic or star seed perspective, perhaps why some of those programs may exist.
Well, the first of all, we have to realize that we are these beautiful cosmic beings, a beautiful soul mind cosmic consciousness incarnated into this human body. We are not living into the extraterrestrial bodies that we were used to, but we come into the human body, which is an evolved animal. Evolved animal, we know that it's the evolved primates in this fancy kind of the stage. It is running on the three-dimensional program of the suffering, pain, fear help us to survive. It's just a basic survival kind of the mechanism of the possible reproduction and contributing to society for certain time amount of the time. So this body is already programmed with the fears, and all these fears would vibrate with this lower vibrational pattern, what you say. Now, why we would be up there in that cosmic consciousness actually picking these patterns? So here's the law as above, so below. It applies to many kind of the things. But if I choose to hold a pattern of the shame, for example, which would be leading into this self-sabotage and self-punishment and, living in the poverty and so much on. If I choose, let's say, to be abused in that soul contract, and I would experience the shame and guilt and all that. Shame is the lowest pattern of the map of the consciousness, described according to Dr. David Hoskins in his map of consciousness. Then the upper highest one is the bliss. That means love, joy, happiness, and the bliss. So if I'm able to survive and learn to thrive from this lower pattern, I'm able to hold this upper higher pattern. Or as the Pleiadians often says, how can you teach about love when you never experience lack of love? When you never experience how it is to be living with the love, how you can connect to those people if you have not experienced any of it. Because Pleiadians, for the Pleiadians cosmic consciousness, they are bringers of the love. They are healers of the soul, which is all about love. And so that's why we come here and we have this, don't have love, and I have been abused, and all these things happen to me, and I cannot even find a self-love, which all leads down to that level of the shame and all these possible patterns. So once we figure it out that we are not victims within the earth, that we actually came here so we can fast forward, remember what we used to do. So we relearn it fast and can be in the assistant to humanity to thrive. That's why we start looking at it. Now, if I can elaborate on a little bit more, we also knew from this cosmic consciousness that this body, as primitive as it is, it has some fantastic features. It's like, you look at your iPhone and somebody tells you, did you know that app is there? And you're like, wow, that is amazing. I didn't even know it was there. So each organ within the body holds a particular consciousness. Again, we're going to look at it as above, so below. There's this cosmic consciousness, Orion beings who are the masters of the mind, that is connected to a gallbladder.
Mm.
And what I will say apply to everybody whenever they had to remove gallbladder or not, because we do have these meridian pathways of the gallbladder within us. According to Chinese medicine, gallbladder holds the energy of choices. So yes, we are living in our circumstances and anything that is happening to us, realizing our patterns. But we need to go ahead and say these patterns are just feeling
Mm.
the self-sabotage before you actually do self-sabotage of yourself. Feeling I don't love myself before I manifest it through a bad choices. I don't like myself. And so if we start catching ourselves to this feeling, it says, all right, circumstances in my life can suggest anything. And I know some people live in the really bad realities. I used to live in the bad reality. And then once we start looking at it, and it says, I can choose. So if I stop feeling hate, I can hold love. I can love my enemy. It will change your life. I
Mm.
can love myself. I can choose I feel wealthy even if I have a $2 within my pocket. If we can sustain the feeling is the beautiful frequency of our soul. Everything starts changing for us. So from that cosmic perspective, we knew it. When we come into the human body, we forget and we become literally victims. And that's what you said, from that 0 to 7 years of age. That is when we start, our ego choose the personality. I'm going to be more victimized. I'm going to be more aggressive to get what I need in a life, to survive in all that. And then we says, all right, are we here to survive or are we here to thrive?
Mm.
Thriving is a completely different pattern. That's a fifth dimensional pattern that we can sustain in this body. That is the cosmic pattern, sort of going like, life can be different if we allow ourselves to feel it.
Yes. And I'd love to explore how we can begin to sustain that 5D frequency in our body. But I want to go back first to something that you said, which was really bringing through this energy of Orion star seeds and correlating to the mind. I'm wondering if you could go through perhaps a few examples of star seed lineage and perhaps how that would correlate to maybe patterns in the body, in the mind.
All right, I have a few of them. I didn't figure out all of them yet, but a few I'm definitely working with. So let's start with the heart. The heart organ within our body is the cosmic consciousness within us of the Pleiadian beings. So if we go on thinking about the heart meridian, which goes from our breast and the hand and the pinky, that is our Pleiadian constellation within us. So the Pleiadians are the soul healers. Their energy is connected, our soul energy is connected to this divine God's love beyond this universe. And we call it the source or the oneness. I like to call it God because the word God has been so energetically misused on the earth. So it's time to choose that new frequency, that loving frequency. So the Pleiadians help us to find that self-love within ourselves, to find out whatever we feel that we don't deserve or that we've been, the bad people, whatever suggests up there, to find the way that we can love ourselves no matter what happened to us in life or no matter what we may have done in our life. Because I would say almost probably none of us, I have not met a single person who have been raised up in this most fabulous spiritual family that would resemble the Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene, the ancient saints. They all have this like, oh, when I was young, let's not talk about that. We had our self-destructive part and we manifested that. So they help us to love ourselves. How do we love ourselves? when we accept what happened to us, when we understand what happened to us, so we don't have to blame ourselves or the others for whatever happened. When we start owning it, we start changing it, and then when we can forgive ourselves. And when we forgive ourselves, we will not go to making again to wrong decisions or acting in an inappropriate way. We will embrace that life with the truth and integrity. So that's where the Pleiadians play the role. Sort of kind of looking at our emotions and says, why do you feeling this way? Why you cannot love yourself? What is it? And once you start figuring out, all your life mission will start unrolling in the front of you. And you go like, okay, I can do this. I can follow the little breadcrumbs on the road. And then slowly we start realizing it's not about what we want, but what is it that is aligning for us? What are the life opportunity that are aligning to the frequency that we are holding?
Mm.
That brings us to the Andromedans. So the Andromedans, I connect to the urinary bladder. And there's something I'm playing with that I was working, I'm fascinated with the meridians and the organs and the cosmic consciousness with it. And I feel it from them and it makes sense to me. And there's a healing coming to people. So that's how it comes all together. So the urinary bladder is the main brain within the body. We have three literary brains: urinary bladder, which is its own electromagnetic system, heart, and the brain. So today we all talk about heart-mind consciousness. It starts with our urinary bladder.
Mm.
It's an innate energy within the body. If we want to have a physical healing, achieve physical healing, that's why we want to connect to the Andromedans. So Andromedan consciousness is, I'm going to look at your body as is like a car, and I'm going to look at it. What does it need to fix? There's a new oil and the tires, and maybe the transmission needs some kind of the work. They're literally starting looking at the body, and they have done it in the cosmos. They have done it here on the earth, and start working with it to start that healing journey, sort of jumpstart that healing journey.
Mm.
They start energizing the water within the urinary bladder. They can send out the electromagnetic pathways to support a new neural pathways grow within the body, which will support the healing. Now, we think about, okay, whatever comes, the gravity, right? Whatever comes into the urinary bladder goes out. How the water can go upward? It is energetically on the meridian wheel, or how the meridians feed into one another. Urinary bladder feeds energetically into the kidneys, and the kidneys are main rejuvenating source within the body. Those who study the Qigong, Taoisms, you totally understand what I'm talking about. There is that rejuvenation power within you. So if I can energize my urinary bladder, and anybody can do it, sort of put your hands over the urinary bladder, Andromedian beings that are connected with the water, and dolphins and whales, do that healing and direct that energy where is it you need to go. So it's still, let's say I need to have a healing of my liver, for example. Now, it will start directing that energy and all these neural pathways so the healing can be delivered there. And as I was talking about the Lyme disease, healing is a journey. It's not only boom and the organ is healed. It's sort of that those pathways will take us, well, the liver holds a lot of anger. Who are you angry with? That's where
Mm.
the brilliance kind of states in and will help out in this healing. Now, if we want to look, how is it really real, what I'm talking about, the Andromedans? Well, there already have been done studies that people who have Alzheimer, dementia, depression, for example, they do have a lot of urinary tract infections. Those urinary tract infections eventually have a capability to poison our brain, our mind, the neural pathways that are created and carry either the toxins or the healing energies.
Mhm.
Then what is the next one? The Syrians. The Syrians are exciting because the Syrians' consciousness are Akashic records and they are knowledge keepers. So if we look on the earth to those who carry the knowledge, sort of who writes those books from the century to century to century, like the Hermetic teachings and Green Emerald books, for example, those are the Syrian beings. Those are the Syrians who lived here on earth. So what is in the body a messenger? According to Chinese medicine, it's blood. Blood is a messenger. So when I work with the Syrians, we go into the thymus gland because thymus gland is connected deeply to our immunity system. And even though we should be sleeping since the age like 18 to 20, it definitely works behind the scenes or has a capability to work behind the scenes. So if we can direct this knowledge into our blood system, then it will start rejuvenating our cells. So let's say, in my classes, I work with this like trio of energy of the Pleiadians, setting the intentions, Andromedans, sending it out through the body, and Syrians entering it into the blood. Now, of course, it enters as an electromagnetic energy. What is electromagnetic energy? Language of light. Light is a wave of light that is actually electromagnetic energy. So all the information up there is stored in the electromagnetic energy. Energy in your picture behind you is just the quiet electromagnetic energy until we give the sound. And so if we start recognizing it, it can enter in our blood. Now, what I love here is the story of the Jesus Christ when he received the book of love and he ate it. And suddenly he had all this knowledge. I think many of us heard of this story. And then we, on our journey, we said, hey, if they give me the book, I make myself to chew it. It doesn't matter how bad it is. If that gives me that particular knowledge, it is not that. It is that there is a knowledge, let's say electromagnetic frequency that can be imagined as a book, and it enters the body. So when it enters the bloodstream, anything that we drink and eat in the matter of the few seconds enter the bloodstream. Think about the alcohol. We are under an influence if we stop drinking under very short time. So whenever it's the water, whenever it's any kind of the food, we do that when we work with the Syrian beings. We all have to swallow the saliva. It is a natural process that we do automatically. If we start thinking about it consciously, you are here with the Syrian beings, you are looking for the book of the knowledge that you would like to have. You become conscious of swallowing your saliva, goes in your stomach, and it's in the bloodstream. It does take a time to move forward. And there are Orion beings, I already talked about, the masters of the mind. And, if we have really that overreactive mind or the entities, energy, beings attached to us, which I think is a common thing, actually. I didn't want to believe that before, but I think it's very common. That is something to work with. So don't look at it like, who controls my mind? Am I in the control of my mind? Or is there something that's suggesting that is controlling my mind? Now, here's an interesting fact. Heart, we cannot live without a heart. If something happened to our heart, we are dead in the matter of the few minutes, right? But if our mind goes, we can be alive for the several years. Let's control that mind. It's a good things to observe. And everybody who says like, oh my God, but those Orion beings are reptilians. Yes, they are. So, there's a lot of reptilian energy up there. It's not all negative. If the Orion beings contribute to our gallbladder energy that it can, choose whatever we want to feel, that means they give us the free will control. They do not control us fully. We control ourselves by this crazy kind of the pattern that will manifest in our life.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, Eva, like the way that you are weaving in wisdom from a galactic and starseed perspective and really, connecting that with different energy systems and different, parts and of our body is just, it gives a whole new perspective. And I feel there is such a sense of deep connection to the body and embodiment practices. It's not just connecting with higher consciousness, for example, but it's really feeling good and feeling expansive in our physical body. So I'd love to go from there and just hear, I know you have some really extensive, daily practices that you really connect with. And I'd love to hear you share some of those practices for our listeners.
Oh, thank you. So yes, we go from this, the time of the meditations and be out of the body and, wanting to be in these energies, but once you personally realize, like, I like to be there a little bit more than in the body, it is time to shift the practice and start to embody be in the body, because body is a gift. And if you want to create here something, make a shift, something has to be from the body. So my practice does change over the years and the times. Currently, I'm practicing transcendental meditation, the Siddhi program that I just learned over the winter holidays in India. I'm so excited about this. And it is a lengthy process. And so my daily practice takes about 3 hours a day. It takes about 1.5 hours in the morning and 1.5 hours almost 2 in the evening. And I'm looking at today as the most important priority in my day.
Mm.
And I know that we all struggle with time, but it is so essential to take care of our body. So I start with the yoga asanas. Actually, I first do this sound exercise with the 7 chakras. Then I go into the yoga asanas, which goes for about 20 minutes. So I do
Okay, so
about
the sound exercises, toning or chanting.
with the Jonathan Goldman, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a 7-minute chakra exercise with a sound. So I do that, and I added little yogic exercise to it, but I do that twice a day because it's the tuning of the 7 chakras. And again, it's being in the body, it's not to be out of it. Then I do about 20 minutes of transcendental meditation yoga asanas, which is a Maharishi condensed version of the most important yogic exercises. Now, when I was introduced to it, and I was like, oh gosh, I have to do it twice a day. And it doesn't really seem like, it will strengthen my muscles. So it's like it's gentle stretching. Doing it for almost a year by now religiously, it makes incredible changes in the body. One becomes stronger without doing any strenuous and crazy exercises. And what it is, when you do yoga, you connect to that consciousness of the body. And that's what it is. Again, brings you into the body, brings you appreciate the body, brings you, and especially as older we get, it brings you really inward and says like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I love my body more than I was in the 20s and 30s. And I'm 49 by now, to clarify that. I love it. And I was like, wow, that's a beautiful appreciation of it. Then I'll go into 20 minutes, 5 minutes pranayama, the nose breathing, which calms the mind and it helps to balance that left and the right hemisphere of the brain. And that's the Siddhi program that we actually have. Then there's a 20 minute of transcendental meditations. For those who are interested, look for your teachers, the best thing that can happen to you. I have tried many meditations before. Obviously, I make my own meditation. And on the side of my program, I meditate about 2 to 3 times a day with my clients. So I'll do my starseed meditations between that. But the transcendental meditation, it helps you to let go of your mind and transcend in that inner part of yourself and connect to cosmic consciousness, where it is quiet and the stillness and no way of the thinking.
Mm.
Then in the Siddhi program, there's another, it takes me about 15 minutes usually. Then we search our consciousness. We start engaging into the sutras and words that will really help us to connect with the cosmos and again with ourselves. Now, I'm going to sidetrack here a little bit, because when I was recently just looking at the David Hopkins map of the consciousness, I don't think he was a transcendental meditator, but yet he described exactly the same thing. Because what we start talking about is the ancient truth, and we all describe in a different way. Even I have written about it in my last book, The Embody Your Cosmic DNA, before I start this program. So when we go to the level of, I think, villainess, I can't remember which level it is right now. It's a when we are forgiveness, that is the right thing. When we come to the acceptance and the forgiveness, we transcend. And that's what it is, to letting go of like what happened to me today, what they did it to me, and so much on. And after the acceptance goes to the level of the reason. Reason is a very active engagement in the mind. And so that's what we do for about 15 minutes. I engage my mind with the cosmic consciousness or the God's consciousness, whatever I feel I'm assessing. It's beautiful energy. And after that, the most exciting part of my practice is the yogic flying that I have learned in practice, where you tell the mind particular words that we call the sutras, and your body finds gravity. It is absolutely phenomenal thing, and you feel like $1,000,000 in the day. And when you start experiencing it, it feels like you are walking on the moon, even though, we're sitting in the yogi position, we start hopping. The levitation is the second step, which I hope I'm gonna, in my lifetime, practice. But, we never know. So, and then it's the rest. One thing what I have learned to add in my practice is the rest after. And I think we all need to rest after the meditations, because meditation is actually a very active and engaging part, believe it or not. And so what Maharishi teaches is lie down for the least. You need to lie down after all of this and just to let the body absorb all these energies. And, as we are busy, that was the one thing that I used to skip through my routine all the time. And now I'm very down to it because it feels good. So it's like, here I was, let's say, whatever meditation you do, you are in this realm, you are engaged. Now it's time to give the body chance to saturate itself in it, to absorb it, to sink it in. Because every time we do, our body literally creates a new neural pathways to support this. And that's what in the transcendental meditation they call the law of nature. Suddenly you are supported in your life, and the things that you want start coming to your life very easy. And so when I started to first seeing it, I was already had a pretty good synchronicity in my life, and I felt like really good on this journey. And I was like, wow, this is much faster than I have ever done before. This is amazing. So
Yeah.
for all of those who goes like, oh gosh, it's a long time. Even before that, a year before, 2 years ago, I practiced Qigong, and I did a Qigong for about 30 minutes a day, and again, do yoga, and always find something, which takes about 1 hour plus minus. I was listening to these Chinese practitioners who were about 90 years old, and they were still like going with the energy. I was like, what is their secret? I want to know what is their secret. It was the energetic practice before you start work. Because we as a energetic beings who are here, we give out so much of energy and we deplete ourselves every single day. So doing that was life-changing.
Oh my gosh, I can connect and feel the energy that you're bringing forth and sharing. And it's so powerful. And I think for listeners, the key is, when you talk about manifesting, right, our desires are bringing, in our desired reality, it is much easier when we're in that state of consciousness, as opposed to being more like matter, more in the thinking mind. And so you're almost merging with consciousness and able to really create in a whole new way. So I know that through your practices, you have been able to attract your soulmate, which is something that you write about in embodying your cosmic DNA. So I'd love if you could share from a manifestation perspective what you've learned and how you've been able to consciously create your reality.
All right, so you get lucky. You guys are very lucky, because I'm gonna super simplify for you. Took me many years, but then I found a simple way. So when we talk about the meditation or exploring that field, we're literally looking into this field of infinite possibilities, and that's why we create. Or in the transcendental meditation, they call it unmanifested field. And we want to manifest from that. We want to manifest from that field of possibility in our physicality. How do we do it? So of course we're imagining up there, and then we're feeling and imagining it here. And there's a faster journey to do. We're gonna employ our 7 chakras with it and our senses. So to understand how to do it, I want you to think about your soul is within your body. It is that invisible energy that cannot speak and only looking, and literally is up there to give you some kind of the feeling. But experience the life, you need to experience it through your senses, especially through your 5 basic senses: smell, taste, sight, touch, and the sound. So if I'm there in the field and I want to meet my soulmate, Of course, I need to do my work to love myself and do all that stuff, right? Before we can meet that person who is like us, because you're gonna meet yourself in a different kind of the body. So guys, really do your work. What is that you want? So to go like, oh, I don't like that, but this is what is my problem. You're gonna connect it to either tea or the food or something that you really enjoy. So I personally love the jasmine tea. So I do a lot of manifestation with jasmine tea. So when I'm there, to making a tea at home is such a normal task. We all drink the tea or coffee or something. So I'm there and I imagine that I smell the jasmine tea. Goes with the first chakra, feeling safe and secure. So the jasmine tea makes me feel safe and secure. And I'm having tea with my soulmate. There's a little shadow. I'm not exactly how he looked like, but I definitely know he has an athletic body. But I'm not gonna, define the hair or the eyes. I will define the personality. Then second chakra, our orange center, go with happiness and with a sense of taste. So when I will drink that, my jasmine tea, I feel absolutely happy and we're having this great conversation and I feel happy. Third chakra is the ability to see. Now first we feel with the seeing. So it actually activates our third eye, but it's in our third chakra area. And if you remember when I was saying whatever goes in your bloodstream enters your cellular structures that create the reality. So if I'm drinking my tea, I can imagine, is there any message on the cup? Do I see any guidance? But when I'm drinking in the real life, I'm literally telling my body, it is safe to meet my soulmate. We are going to be absolutely happy together. I'm ready to create that reality. That's when it really starts. Fourth chakra is the sense of touch, our hands. I'm holding my cup, I'm sitting up there in our manifested, and I'm sitting in my kitchen in my manifested. I'm energizing my tea. I welcome love in my life. I welcome happiness in my life. Because how else we can manifest, let's say, the soulmate in our life if we just are afraid of man or afraid of people and don't trust anybody? We're blocking ourselves. So I welcome it. I drink it, again, you're energizing your body. The fifth chakra is the manifestation. Fifth chakra is the gift of the humans, ability to think and to speak. So what we speak, we bring into reality. So I'm have a communication with my soulmate about, in my case, about hugging the trees and practicing the energies. Yes, he absolutely into that. When I saw the guy hugging the tree, I was like, I'm good. I did really good. Like the expectations are even better than I thought it's gonna be. So if we activate our 5 chakras with a simple cup of the tea that you can drink every single day, or blueberries or strawberries, something that you really like and enjoy, even if it's a piece of the steak that somebody enjoy, it activates those 5 chakras. Smell, feeling safe. Taste, feeling happy. Sight, what is that you see? What is that you feel? How does he look like? Well, how does it feel like? What is the personality? What is it that you actually want? 4, touch, welcoming love and happiness in our life. 5th, expressing it. The upper 2 chakra activates on its own. 6th chakra is the awareness that activates all our psychic abilities, seeing the signs and the symbols on our journey, sort of like be at the right time at the right place. And that would happen. 7th chakra is trust. It actually connected to the time travel as well in our mind consciousness, but just trusting yourself, because that empowers your first chakra of feeling safe. With the simple technique of drinking tea, you can apply the manifestation to anything. Like, I don't usually use water because it doesn't smell to me anyway, but if some people have a particular smell to the water, it will work as well. So that is the way of unmanifested to the manifested field. Now, it takes a little work, but I have tried many times on the different variety of the things. I do it with my students in my class, and it works.
I love that practice, and it's really engaging all of our senses in such a multi-dimensional way. And you gave, the beautiful example of attracting one's soulmate, but we can apply that to any area of our life that we're desiring to manifest, whether it's abundance or whether it's purpose, whatever it is that we're desiring to call in to our reality. And, what really strikes me as you're sharing, something that I love is that it feels as though you've just embraced all of the practices that you've cultivated in such a unique way. And I feel like that's one of the keys. You mentioned in the beginning, it's like I practice for 3 hours a day, and some could hear you share that and be like, oh my gosh, how could I possibly fit in, 3 hours of practice into my day? And, I would say, like, start off small and work your way up. But the key is, right, to like enjoy it and to love it and to make it your own. Because I feel like sometimes when we're trying to do something to check it off, or we're doing something that has worked for somebody else, yes, we can try on things and integrate them. But I feel like when we embody it and we become the divine researcher and experimenter of our body consciousness, then we're able to discover things that you've discovered about, how the meridians work and the chakras, and really begin to fall in love with that journey.
Yeah, definitely. And start small. I mean, when I started, it was like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I skipped many mornings because I wanted to sleep in. And then when I really, got very engaged and realized this is my life passion, the best advice I received from my teacher was that if I think what is my job through the day, it is that time when I engaging in my personal development. And she says, this is the time when you are working for the universe. Think of it as this way. And the rest of the day will go easy because you will be supported. So if I invest that time in myself, and it says like, this is my job, I do for the universe and the earth will support me energetically with opportunities through the day, then do so. And yes, it takes a sacrifice. I mean, sometimes I do have to wake up at 4 o'clock. Well, very often I have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and sleep 5 to 6 hours.
Mhm.
And then I catch up on the sleep over the weekend sometimes. It does take a sacrifice. And thankfully, my children are already grown up. So when they were younger, it would definitely, it was different. It was a shorter practice and, here and there, or just snack that time through the day. But whenever it's the 5 minutes to 10 minutes, just feel it like it's the best thing what you can do for yourself. You invest in yourself. Like, I love coffee. And that used to be on my such a treat, like, oh, you're gonna have a coffee, especially when I don't have to make it at home, right? Of course, we can make a great coffee at home. And now this is my coffee. I still like the coffee, but this is my thing that I was like, all right. Because when I come to that personal, you have to find something that you will really, really, really enjoy from it.
Yeah.
So I love to research the consciousness. That is one of my very favorite parts. And then the yogic flying. That makes me feel like a little kid in the playground. And that is something that is just so rewarding and so joyful that I didn't even think that the joy, that level of joy is inside of me, because we all get serious on this journey and our life becomes serious and there's always, something that is going on. And so we forget that innocent, playful child inside of us. And that's what I really rediscover on my journey in India over the winter. And that made me so grateful and so happy about it. And I know that I talked to several people, me included. We had a bad childhood. And it was really hard in the beginning to really find like, how would it feel to have that great childhood or be that, the happy kid? So if you are there like me, who was like, I don't know, define it, what it would be, how it would be. And you can always be that kid. Now, it doesn't matter if we are 30, 40, 50, 70, or 80. To finding that kid, it's not, I'm retrieving something that was lost. It's like what I want it to be. And
Mm.
that does it for me. So that is that reward that I feel by the end of my meditation. I was like, it's fun. And, we all have a bad day sometime. I don't want to wake up. We're absolutely exhausted. And so I like to experience with everything. So I tried a few times. I was like, would I feel good even if I feel like I don't want to do anything? Yep. After the yogic flying is like, you push through all the obstacles
Yeah.
and you're in that field and you embody that field. And you go like, you know what? I can go through the day. Everything's gonna be all right. So I wish I found that early in life, but this is something that is spectacular.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such a game changer moment with your spiritual devotional practices is once you begin to actually feel that shift. You know, there's that maybe that period of time where there is a resistance that comes up and arises of, you know, how can I have so much on my to-do list, or, you know, how can I quiet my mind? But when you really start to connect with, I'm able to change my consciousness, I'm able to change my energy, I'm able to bring in these frequencies that make me feel alive and joyful and playful. That's when the fun starts and the magic happens.
Definitely, it definitely does. And when you start looking at yourself and you says, well, I changed that life pattern. I had a life pattern of abuse. Had two not really happy marriages. I had a pattern of deep poverty. There's been a lot of those dysfunctional classical starseeds pattern. I always says, if I change them, anybody can. And I
Mm,
think that's why my journey came through. Like I look at it like, look, as above, so below. Like I manifested everything possibly below. Thank you. I don't need anything more with all that stuff. And when you see that it changed from this to this to this, then it starts to get exciting of this journey. Now, it doesn't matter where we are on the level of the journey. Once in a while, we always encounter these other obstacles or the resistance and so much on. And that's when we literally need to stop and look back at our life and say, look, you overcame this and this and this. Here is the formula. It's going to get easier right now. So
mm.
I look at it, it's like, you have a bike that has kind of like probably rusty kind of the